its sole responsibility is to provide connectivity to the clients. Linux clients, AIX clients, Windows clients, that's how the client actually maps to the actual share or the file system. So the blade is, in essence, the connectivity point out to the user community. Number two is a control station. It is your single point of management. If I want to create a file system, if I want to create an interface, if I want to virtually provision a file system, I would use the control station. I would log on to the control station. We'll talk a little bit about what that means during the demo, but in essence, the control station is my single point of management. Number three, power. Something happens to my power in my data center. These redundant power units, their responsibility is to make sure that they keep the number four, the storage processors up and running. Any cache that was staged within that number four, which is the processor, this processor, any of the cache that was in I/O there or in cache would be destaged onto the first 5 disks, which we call the vault disks. So again, power basically allows the ability to protect any I/O that's still in cache. Okay, and number 4 is really the brains behind the operation. You guys are very familiar with this. The disk processor enclosure, they're also the SPs. So we have an SPA and an SPB. Those are active-active. They can trespass for each other. And 5 is really the connectivity point from a fiber channel perspective. So again, if you take a look at this entry-level product, you'll notice that it has 2 blades. So they're redundant, they're clustered. So if something happens to the primary blade, you have the secondary blade that would pick up the load. MAC address, IP address, file systems, Windows permissions and ACLs, and so on and so forth. Also, you'll notice that each blade, depending on the blade, comes with 4 copper GigE that are 10 by 100 by 1000 that can be trunked or linked or bonded together to give you kind of that extra resiliency, so to speak. Okay, so the difference between the NX4 and the NS120, really it's just the horsepower and the capacity that you can put in front of each blade. So again, kind of the same architecture here. 1, we talked about the power. 2, storage processors. Again, familiar with kind of the Clarion. This is in essence a Clarion, a CX4 plus. The plus being the number 3 here, which are the data movers. 4 again is your control station. 5 are the disks. And again, we support a variety of disks. Fiber channel, ATA, and now with the entire portfolio, enterprise flash drives. Number 6 again is the option of enabling the fiber channel port. So again, that unified storage look and feel of having the ability of directly attaching, say, a Oracle database, or having the ability of having, say, a fiber channel data store, an NFS data store, an iSCSI data store if you're referring to like a VMware environment. So pretty straightforward here. The 480, again, 480 represents the amount of disks that I can have in this system, 480 disks. Same thing here. The difference here is the number 3. You'll notice that I can house up to 4 blades. Typically what I see here is an active standby configuration. Why is this important? Well, I may have a business unit that would like to have their own physical blade, let's say, and that may be finance. HR and say HR and another business unit may share 1 blade. The point is these are autonomous file servers that really you can start load balancing. You can separate the load, be very hard line in the sand, so to speak, in terms of the I/O that you can push on each one of these blades. Okay, and again, all of the other items remain the same. Lastly, we have the 960. The difference there, the big difference there is that I can scale this guy up to 8 blades. Again, blades refers to the connectivity point from the client perspective. So I would log on to or create a file system, export that file system, and a blade would actually service those file sharing operations. Gateway. Again, this is if you already have an investment with a Clarion or Symmetrix and you wanted to provide file sharing, and iSCSI. The only thing that I would really need to sell would be number one, which is the control station. That's our single point of management. And number one would be the blades, and number two would be the control station. So very, very easy to bolt something onto an existing environment. Everything stays the same from your existing environment perspective, but you're off and running. And again, the same concept there with the NSG8, 8 representing, I can scale this up to 8 blades. Okay. We talked a little bit about kind of tiering in the box, but again, we do have the ability of having multiple disk types within the system, and of course we've introduced the enterprise flash drive. So what my customers are doing is putting data at the right drive type at the right time, but also having the mechanism or the ability of moving that data, say from an enterprise flash drive to a SATA drive. And we've just introduced a new SATA drive, which is a 5400 RPM, so low power, dense drive, 1 terabyte. And again, you can really start to save cost on high performance drives by basically tiering in a box, ILM, so to speak. Okay, so let's kind of shift gears a little bit and start talking about some of the topics that kind of complement the unified storage message, and that is the ability of recovering from a mistake. So if I accidentally deleted a file, how do I get that file back? Part of the demo, I'm going to show you some of these feature functionalities in terms of how we do it, how easy it is to do it, and some of the benefits in terms of how, one way versus the other. So again, the concept here is if I've got this unified storage platform, multiple connectivity, leveraging all of the other product portfolio, again, what becomes pretty important is the type of data and protecting the data. So having the ability of right-click property, restore from a previous version, having that quick functionality, that quick ease of use to get your users back on track. So some of these capabilities I'm going to demo. The majority of them I'm going to demo. The next is, and I bring this up because we've introduced Replication version 2. Replication version 2 is actually quite nice and very easy to set up. The two things I want to point out are kind of right smack in the middle, advanced functionality. One-to-N replication for data distribution. Basically what that means is if I had a file system, I can replicate that file system at the same time to 4 different locations. So that's what we call one-to-N, N being 4 in this case. Also, cascading. So I can have, say, a branch office that I am replicating, say, to a downtown office, and then I may have my tape infrastructure for NDMP backups or whatnot. That may be at a satellite office. So I can replicate from A to B, so site A to site B, and then lastly to site C, which may have all my tape infrastructure. We call that cascading.